Hi, today is Friday, January 10th, 2025, and that means it's time for another Flosstube video. Hi, my name is Marissa. This is MKissa Creations. I am also MKissa Creations over on Instagram, and I want to welcome my new followers here and there. I hit a couple of milestones, so thank you so much if you are new. If you're returning, thank you also. I appreciate having you here so much. But I hit 2,000 followers on Instagram and 1,500 subscribers on YouTube, and both of those things that's not why I do this, but it still means something when it happens. So thank you so much, and welcome. Many people joined from my whip parade and from my 25 new starts in 2025 video, and thank you. So I've been stitching since 2015. I didn't really do a reintroduction in my whip parade, but I've been stitching for a little bit now, and I have quite a collection of patterns, and I absolutely love the craft. Sometimes I do show some quilting stuff. I don't have any of that for you today, and I do have a sewing project coming up that I will share with you probably in my next video. So I think that will be fun. Maybe I will try to film some more on the sides of that. But I will talk about this more at the end of my video because I don't think everybody wants to hear about it. But many of you know that I live in Maine. I am a transplant. We moved here in 2018 from Southern California. Southern California is my home. My husband lived in Los Angeles before we met for 10 to 12 years. And so the ongoing fires that are happening right now are hitting us pretty hard. I have been using stitching as my coping, so I have a lot of really great stitching, but just keep California in a big old hug for me, please, because they need it right now. All right, a little bit more on that at the end if you care to watch. Okay, so I had a new year, new start. I had a new year, new long dog, and then like the day after I started my new year, new long dog, Jules, the designer of Long Dog Stitching, released another new long dog. So I'm going to put the picture of her new long dog here. It is called the Seventh Wave, I believe. I live with a surfer, so this is a no question stitch. Although, so this whale that is on this Seventh Wave is also on my new start, and it's on Fish and Chips, which I have on the go. So I'm gonna stitch this whale. It's not how many long dogs I'm gonna stitch now. It's kind of like how many times am I going to stitch this big giant whale. So we shall see. But I think the count currently will be at 3. I have not purchased this new pattern yet, but I will very shortly. It is on my list. I am just currently in a no-buy situation, and hopefully that doesn't bite me in the butt. I think Jules will be around for a little bit, and I don't think that pattern will disappear that quickly. So I'm going to save my pennies for the moment, but that will be a purchase at some point. I won't be stitching it in black like it is charted, and so a lot of her patterns are monochrome. This one actually has, I think, 3 other colors in it. So there are some grays in the wave, in the big part of the crest of the wave. So, or actually kind of on the face. I don't know. They go over the top. Yep, it's good. It's gonna happen, and so I need to get a color palette for that. Maybe I'll dye another one. I don't know. It was really hard to get the really dark, which I will show you with my new start. It was hard to get the darkest to really appear dark. I know that when all of this is stitched, you'll be able to see the variegation from dark to light that I am stitching, but I feel like right now it's not that obvious. It's obvious when you hold the skeins together that the lightest one is lightest and the darkest one is darkest, but I don't know how that's going to translate yet. So I think it's going to be beautiful either way. I just don't know how like intense that change is going to be. So we shall see. All right, so I showed you 7th wave. That's the new one. I'm not stitching that yet. I'm going to put here Quinto Acuto, mouthful. Quinto Acuto, which is what I am stitching now, and I'm going to show you my start on it, and I'm going to show you my floss. So I will show you my floss first, and I lost my boards, all of them. They're all gone after I did my whip parade. I don't know where I put them away to in a very safe space. So safe. So safe. All right, so this is my floss variegation or variation, or I don't know, selection. And then $37.99 is my dark. And then there are some there's some white back stitching here in this pattern. So there's that collection that I created. And then here is my start. So I got quite a bit done. I stitched on this for 5 days. So from the 1st through the 5th, I stitched on it while watching whip parades. So I got my stitchy spot back. So if you watched some of my last 5 videos, the Christmas tree was right here. My stitchy spot is gone when the Christmas tree is here. And this is my stitchy spot. This is where my Lowry lives. And I tried moving it somewhere else and it just was not a thing. So my stitchy spot is back. I have my Lowry back. So that means I'm back to 2-handed stitching. There isn't another place in our living room where the Lowry can go where I also have good light. So 2-handed stitching wasn't happening. So once we got the tree put away and I hit stride with 2-handed stitching, this was just like a dream. So I almost have a page finish actually on this. Colors are coming in pretty good actually. It's a gray mottled fabric. I don't know who the dyer is. It is a 36 count. I am stitching 1/2. And the floss that I dyed is DMC. It was DMC Blanc. And I love this. I absolutely love this. So I don't know when this will come back out again. I didn't take it out of the Q-snap yet because I haven't needed to. So I kind of am leaving it in there until I need to take it out of the Q-snap. And need is is it really a need? But anyways, so it could pop back up. I could stitch another day on it. I'm not quite sure yet what's going to happen with that. All right, so the way that I know that I stitched 5 days on it is I started doing a new tracking. I start a new tracking every year, but I actually started this one at the end of last year and I wanted to see if I stuck with it. And so what I've done is I have gone on Canva and just found a habit tracker that somebody else created and changed it to a stitch tracker. And so what I do is I write in the month and the year, and then I write in what project I worked on. The solid box will be for a new start, and then probably I don't know, I'll come up with something cool for a finish, and it might be a different color or something. And then, as you can see, I worked on 324, and I put the number of motifs I got completed in there for 324. So preview of what I have worked on and what I will be showing you in a moment. But though this is easy. It's folded into my stitch book, boop, on the page that has the whip list that I showed you for my whip parade. And also what I've been doing is I've been putting asterisks when I've touched a project this year. So hopefully I can keep that going, and all of my projects will have an asterisk next to them at the end of the year because I will have touched all my whips, as I spoke about in my whip parade maybe, or my plans, I'm not sure which, that I wanted to make sure that I touched all of my projects this year. So that's how I'm tracking that. And then I will keep all of these probably just folded in the back of my book for the year so that I have one for each month. And then I will know how many days I have worked on each project. So that will be a fun stat at the end of the year when I'm going through the whip parade. I can tell you how many days I've worked on each of the projects that I'm showing and have a good count of that. And then I will also be able to, yeah, I'll have that information. And it's neat to see, because like I tend to, when I switch on a day that I switch projects, I often work on both of them. I don't like not work on the project. I work on it for like part of the day or part of my stitchy time, and then I switch out and then start the new one. So there's crossover always. And then 324, which I'll show you next, has been in our bedroom, and I stitch on that like while we're watching sports at night. So right now it's hockey and football, and I just get a couple motifs done. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that too. Not stitching in bed, but the way that I pull my flosses for that. So I pull my flosses for that from my master set. I keep my floss in a double-sided floss case. So most of these stickers are from breweries, a lot of them from our trip cross country, and but just like it's a place to put stickers. I am a child of the 80s and 90s, and I'm a child with like anxiety of the 80s and 90s, and so a lot of my stickers never got stuck. And I am getting sad because I've had this case since I started stitching, and this is going to end in disaster someday. And you'll all be like, Marissa, we told you to get a new one. But I don't want to, it has all my stickers on it. Maybe I can like change out the lids if I can find it, make sure I order the exact same one. One of the little like thingies that like this, like it clips on, one of them is missing on this side. So if this one is saving my skin right now, but if it comes off, I'm going to be in deep doo-doo, and we're going to have a floss apocalypse. All right, so barring a floss apocalypse happening, I work from a full set of DMC. This came up in the group that I stitch with on Tuesday night sometimes, and I told them that I worked from a full set of DMC and that I don't keep DMC kitted in my projects, and some of them were very surprised. I didn't know it was such a like rare thing to do. I also work off of floss drops. So like if I am kitting something, and actually the reason that I like won't kit a lot of times or won't pull everything from floss drops, I learned from Deadly Aquarium, which is right here, because you're like, oh my gosh, I must need all of these flosses, especially when you get a mystery sal. You need so much of these flosses, but then, especially because I stitch on 40 count a lot, and so I'm stitching with one strand, I'm not going to use a full skein on projects. So in the end, if I dumped out all my kitted projects and I had all of these kitted in DMC, I would have so many skeins of some of the same colors and leftovers. I just think it would be madness if you dumped them all out. So I guess we're not going to finish all our projects at the same time, so it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't matter, you do you, but I am telling you how I do me, so that if it inspires you to kind of consolidate your space, or if you have a small space, this is how you can continue to have a lot of projects and not have to like have a ton of floss everywhere. And it's how I keep multiple projects in one bag. So my project bags don't all have their own one project in them. They all have a lot of projects in them because it's just the pattern and the fabric with the stitching on it and sometimes a needle minder. That's what goes in my project bag. If there's fancy floss, the fancy floss does live with it. And I buy fancy floss per project, but most of my projects are DMC or floss that I'm using from stash. And so if I'm using it from stash or it's just coming out of my stash, it's gonna go in the bag so I don't forget what I'm using. And it's usually because I've just compared it. I found one problem with that. Today I found the black that I'm going to want to use for, or the other day I found the black that I'm going to want to use for a wicked plant that I have been searching for. It's in another project. So I have plenty of it. Some of it will come out or part of it will come out. I haven't figured out how I'm going to split that skein up, but so that is the fancy floss issue is a little bit of an issue, but as far as DMC goes, I just stitch from my stash. On my 5-day rotation, the floss comes out. When I'm done working on it, the floss goes back in. I have little kids. I have a husband who likes to like clean up things that are like not his because he doesn't, I'm a piles person. I know what is in all of my piles. So if you clean up my piles for me, all of my things are lost. And so for me, an important part of my things not getting lost is putting them away, and me putting them away and him not putting them somewhere safe for me, or me not putting them somewhere safe in a panic. It is putting them away when I am done. This has only become a thing lately now that I am trying to teach my children how to put things away when they're done and realize that I need to be a better example setter for them. So I have had this problem. I am 42. I think this has been like only 2 years of me really trying hard to put my things away when I'm done using them. If it's easier for you to just put your things into the one bag and then put the bag away, then keep doing that. I'm not telling you to stop. I'm telling you what I do, and I'm telling you why I do it. Okay, that was some organizational rambling for you. Let's look at some more projects. More stitching. More stitching is good. All right. 324 from Works by ABC. You know it. You love it. It's beautiful. Arlene Cohen. There is now another version of this that is like back stitching, or what do you call it? Like color work. It's not X's. It's designs made with back stitch, straight stitches. It is also beautiful. All right. I have added 12 motifs since I showed this to you in my whip parade. I'm not going from my last Flosstube video with whips and things like that. I'm going from my whip parade. I showed you where I was with everything. Seems silly for me to show it to you again. So I'm starting from there. I'm considering that a Flosstube video, even though it wasn't. You got to see my project, and now you're seeing an update. So, update, I stitched 12 new blocks since you saw it last. I am at 141 total motifs stitched, which makes me 43.5% complete. As you can see, there's still a couple little holes on there that I need to find floss for and fill in, but I have not brought my list to Michael's, so yeah. She's beautiful. I love this piece so much. I love working on it at night. I love so when I work on it at night, I will get anywhere from 1 to, I think 5 is the most I did in one night, motifs done. And last night I only did 3, but they were 3 like motifs. They weren't They weren't little 5x5 blocks. So last night I did, let's see, this one, and this one. So this one is pretty, these two are pretty stitch heavy. This one was a little on the lighter side. This one was like very stitch heavy, I guess, but you know, like not a hard pattern to follow either. So it just, sometimes they take a long time, sometimes they don't. It really varies, and I think that makes it a whole lot of fun. All right, next, in my whip parade, I gave you some of my goals, and one of my goals was to finish one of my New Year New Starts. And I told you which one it was going to be, or which one I was thinking about focusing on. And then I watched Megan, the Wide-Eyed Stitcher, and then it just so that made me get it out. And then it just so happened that I was watching Bridget, the Museum Stitchers whip parade, right while I was stitching on it, and she is stitching. This is, I think, the only project that she and I had in common, and she is stitching on it also. And that is Night Walk Down by the Blue Flower. So this is the pattern. And Night Walk Down the Sky with the moon in her hand. And here is where I have that. So let's see, the white and the yellow are looking a little ghosty, I think, to you maybe on camera. But they show up, though. Yeah, the white is definitely looking a little ghosty, but it shows up. So I had her down to here and the front part of the cat. So I did all of the back end of the cat and the bottom part of her dress and the moon and this star and this star. I did realize when I did that this flower is off by one stitch. I think I'm just gonna fudge it. So we'll see how that goes later. It is one stitch too low. So I don't know how that's gonna go. I also, Megan is not doing the border. I don't think I'm doing the border either. The border on this is really intense. It's really intense, like it's thick. I don't think it needs the border. The border is beautiful. I don't think it needs it. But also, I am stitching from a paper pattern, and the symbols in the border are kind of rough on the eyes. I'm sure once I got into a pattern of stitching it, it would be okay, but I don't think it needs it. I think that, and it's a lot of color changes, even though it doesn't really look like a lot of color changes. So I think mine's just not gonna have it. It's just not gonna have it. I don't think it needs it. But yeah, and actually I shared that I had changed cinders so that the witch's hair, or the girl's hair, and the cat could be the same color, and mine aren't. So the hair is Old Crow, I think is what it's called. It's that blue-black. And the cat is Wrought Iron, which is also a blue-black, but doesn't have that kind of variegation that it has. But I still think, I don't know, I love it. It looks awesome. She's so pretty. I am stitching this with a mix of called for colors and floss from stash. The blue of her dress is floss from my stash. It's a color in cotton, and it looks like the picture, so I'm super stoked on that. The purple on the outside of the flower is the called for DMC substitute for that color. I originally had the moon out like back stitched in like a heavier gold because I didn't have the called for, and then I substituted it with honeycomb, which I stole from my Consider the Lilies. That project called for 2 skeins when I bought the pattern, My fabric is a tiny bit bigger that, or like a larger count, smaller, higher count, smaller X's than the called for. So I either might get away with the one skein, or because I still have plenty left on what I'm using and I'm more than halfway done, or I can dig back into this because this project is definitely not going to use it. So I'm sharing skeins for that. I'm sharing skeins for that one. And then my next whip that I worked on, where I found my black, was, I'm calling it a Stitch in Time. The pattern is called Fresh from the Garden from Little House Needleworks. It has 2 patterns in it. I'm working on the needle book, which I don't think I'm going to make into a needle book, but we shall see. And what inspired me to stitch on this was that when I showed it, I just had like a wingless bee, and I didn't like that. And I didn't want to show it to you again as a wingless bee. So then I made the bee's wings, and then I stitched the tomato and the vine underneath and the bottom underneath that, and I got a lot done. So this was 2 days, like, well, 1.5, because it was a project switch day of stitching. And the red is Color and Cotton's Bonfire, if you are looking for that. And this is another project that I stitched, that I just kitted up for my stash. I believe I might have some of the called fors in there, but so it'll live someday with my other tomato little pin cushions over there. Which brings me to plans. More tomato pin cushions. I guess I was just like gearing myself up. Actually, it was that I wanted to start this project, and then I was like, we have a set start date. So Stacy from Bluebird Paper and Thread, so she is my aunt's cousin. So we are family. She and found each other's floss tubes and was like, hey, we're family, which is bizarre and awesome. So her cousin and I are both married into our husband's family. So her husband is my husband's blood related uncle. So while I am technically her cousin's niece, she and I are both the married in parts of the family. Good times. Long story long, Stacy and I are hosting a sale for the Brenda Gervais Keeper of the Pins. I have had this pattern since it came out at market. I want to get it done and dusted and off of my to-do list and added to my pincushion shelf over here. So we are planning to start on, gosh, I forget if it's the 16th or the 21st. My brain is not working. I was like looking, because she was like, when should we start? Should we just start? And I was like looking through all of the like random weird holidays, like a weird holiday calendar. You know how there's like Sister Day and Brother Day and Sibling Day and Ice Cream Day. So there was like a Baker Crafter Maker Day in January. It's either the 16th or the 21st. Really just, I mean, it's not hard start. I'm probably going to start this tomorrow. And just be like, the sale is starting. So we're doing a hashtag keeper sale. I will put it down below. But hashtag keeper sale, you can stitch any of these. You can stitch all of these. We are going to do an ongoing stitch along for this. I don't know. It's probably going to take me through the year. I want to stitch all of them except I don't know that I have the desire for this one right here. This little lady. But we'll see. Maybe I will have the desire once I have a bunch of them done. I picked out my red. It is from a box that I had gotten a long time ago on a scrap piece of fabric. So it is more of like a dingy. It's not showing up as such right now. It's like a dingy 347-ish color. So that will get started before you see me again. And other plans. Oh, we're doing a little mini retreat with our like little group of friends, and I'm so excited. So end of the month, we're getting together, just a couple, I don't know, couple handfuls of us. We normally have like a small stitchy group once a month, but it's always fun to have a sleepover. So we're doing a sleepover that one of our friends put together, and I'm really excited. So I'll tell you about that after it happens, or I don't know, maybe in my next video leading up to it. We all so stink at taking pictures and video. There's how many flosstubers in our group? There are 2 paired flosstubers. So that's 4. And then me and another that do single floss tubes. So there are 6 of us always at these things, and none of us gets a camera out, ever. We are horrible videographers on the go. We are great videographers in our home, but on the go it is not so much. So that's in my plans. I will see you again before that, but I'm excited because I just kind of solidified my plans to do that. So kind of jazzed to chat about it. And let's see, I don't have any other planned starts except, in February 6th, I am starting the Dreaming of Klimt from Barbara Anna. So if you have that or another Klimt piece, I'm just going to call it Klimt Sale 25. So let's do hashtag Klimt Sale 25. I think Julie, Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World, and Shelly, Key Stitcher, I forget what her floss tube is. That's her Instagram. Her floss tube has a different name. I will link it below. She's going to join for that. Oh, joining us for the, the Keeper Sal is going to be, so Stacy at Bluebird Paper and Thread, and then who else is doing it? The Contented Needleworker Kim is joining us, and Cloudy Nook Stitches is joining us too. If you are also joining, please let me know below. Please tag me on Instagram. Just because of the way hashtags are working, I may or may not see the hashtag. I can't follow it. So like when I post, I will click on the hashtag and look at the pictures that it brings up. I think those are like a little bit delayed with what's going on with hashtag world, but hopefully if enough of us are using that hashtag, there will be some pictures populated into that hashtag. So again, hashtags are not nothing anymore. You just can't follow them. But I think the way that Instagram was showing us stuff, I don't really know that following a hashtag was working all that well unless you were being notified anytime somebody used it, which I don't even know if that was a feature. So if you want to see a hashtag, like the best part of Quinto Acuto is that the hashtag is, that's it. There is nothing else called Quinto Acuto in the internet world or in the Instagram world right now. So if you click on that hashtag, it is only people that are working on Long Dog Samplers, Quinto Acuto, or planning it or have pictures of it in that post. Like it's not mucked up with anything else that's like randomly sharing that hashtag. So hopefully Keeper Sal will stay that same way. Hopefully Klimt Sal 25 will stay that way too. And we can just make sure that we flood those tags with our starts and our plans. So again, please tag those, tag me. I am happy to be tagged. So I think that's it for my major plans. And I did just want to say like one more thing about California. Just be careful what you're posting. Be mindful of what you are posting. Give it a hot second to think about how it might affect if someone saw it that was going through this, and if that's the best use of your putting things out into the internet world. I feel like use that thought process in general, but I think right now we need a lot of compassion, and we need to be like moving in a positive direction forward. And I know that is difficult right now for a lot of people, but I just encourage you to make sure what you're posting is true, accurate, and that it's not hurtful, because a lot of people have gone through a lot right now. And it's not just California. We're still dealing with the floods in the south, and the recovery from that. It's still not done, and what's happening in California is not done now. Unfortunately, the rebuilding process is going to take a really long time, and if we get the rain, if California gets the rain that it so badly needs, now there's no plant roots to suck up all that water. It creates a whole nother set of problems. I've lived through the cycle a lot of times. It's really, really tough on the region, and what's happening to Los Angeles County right now is not normal, and it's not going to be a quick fix. It's not going to be an easy thing, and I just please be thoughtful. So that's all I have. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great couple of stitchy weeks. I will see you again in 2 weeks, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.